That's the high call. You definitely won't be making that one. You know, if you reject knowledge, if you reject his commandments. He goes on to say, seeing thou hast forgotten the law, Torah of thy Elohim, I will also forget thy children. And he's speaking concerning the priesthood. He's been dealing with the priesthood since verse 4, you know, directly. Where it was their job, and he was saying, you know, hey, let no man strive, yet no man strive or reprove another, because the priests, that's what they should have been doing. They should have been striving and reproving the people. But they didn't, because they strove back. You know, they contended back with them. So they began to avoid contending or trying to reprove them. You know, so they just kind of took a back seat to their job. And Yah is basically here in verse 6 of Hosea 4 saying that he's going to fire them. It's basically what he said. You know, because thou hast rejected knowledge, you won't keep my commandments that I commanded you to go do and to teach my people my commandments. So I'm going to reject thee. You won't be a priest to me no more. And we know, you know, that when Yahushua came, he didn't come under a running priesthood. Amen. But he is our high priest in the order of Melchizedek. Surely, that spiritual priesthood is eternal, whereas the Aaronic priesthood is done away with. So did Yah keep his word?
Yes.
Yes, he did. But why? Because they've forgotten his Torah. So he said he would forget them. Verse 7 says, as they were increased, that is the priesthood, as they were increased, they sinned against him. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. And truly he did. He destroyed their temple. He says in verse 8, they eat up the sin of my people and set their heart. This word heart isn't the normal word heart, which is laid in the Hebrew. This is actually the word for soul, nephesh. And he says, they eat up the sin of my people. They were accepting and eating the sin offerings of the people. But rather than striving with them and reproving them, they looked forward to their next transgression that they might once more fill their bellies.
Wow.
This was against the word of Elohim, needless to say.
Yes.
So you see, they took a back seat to their duties, but they still wanted the benefits.
Yes.
See, and it says they set their souls on their iniquity. In other words, here it is. I got Sister Juju that done came to me 4 times in the last week offering a sin offering for playing the harlot. And here it is, I keep accepting her sin offering, making her think it's okay. Her katat, which is sin offering in Hebrew. That's not okay, and neither was it allowed. The priest, the sin offering, as a matter of fact, all of the offerings of Yah was for unintentional sin. Wasn't for intentional sin. So, for the priest to continue to eat their sin offerings, to accept their sin offerings and eat them, was against Torah. It was against the word of Elohim. They should have turned them away to let them know that Yah isn't not pleased with you living in sin. See, we're all sinners, and it's okay to sin. We're going to fall short. You know, it's okay to sin unintentionally. You know, it's never okay to sin, but if you sin unintentionally, you know, it's one thing. But if you sin intentionally, It's another. See, in the way that the sacrificial system was set up, it was only set up for unintentional sin. It wasn't set up for intentional sin. If you sin intentionally, then you were to carry the brunt of whatever was involved with that. And this is what the priest should have implemented, but they didn't. Out of fear, I can only suppose out of fear, because the people strove with them, and hey, they were killing some of the priests, and the prophets. So, many of them took a back seat and was like, okay, just bring another sin offering. I'm hungry. This is the way we eat. But they weren't doing their jobs properly. Yes. And the same thing is happening today. If you look at many other quote-unquote priests or leaders of Yah's people, they accept the sin. And they accept the sin offerings. And they never get around to telling the people that what they're doing is unacceptable. They never turn the sin offering away to let them know that Elohim don't accept intentional sin offerings. His word says those who sin unintentionally will receive few stripes, but those who sin intentionally will receive many. There is a penalty to pay for your intentional sins. Next reader, Hosea 4. Well, I'm going to read 9, and I have the next reader read 10 through 14. Now, Hosea 4:9 is another one verse that I didn't particularly agree with the way that the King James translated it. King James translated, and there shall be like people, like priests, and I will punish them for their ways and reward them their doings. And another translation had it this way. They had it, and it shall be, instead of, and there shall be, and it shall be like people, like priests, and I shall punish them for their ways and reward them for their deeds. And this is a more literal, this next one is a more literal translation. And I liked it best of all. And only 1 out of 10 different versions had it like this. And it says, so be it, and so be it, as the people, as the priests, and I visit on them their ways and return their exploits. I think that's more closer to what the original Hebrew is saying. And so be it, and so it is, as the people, as the priests, and I visit on them for their ways and return their exploits. In other words, the priests are just as wicked as the people. They're all in wickedness. There's no righteousness in the land. No one's keeping my commandments. That's a terrible thing. Yah was upset about that. Hosea 4:10 through 14.
For they shall eat and not have enough. They shall commit whoredom and shall not increase, because they have left off to take heed to Yahuwah. Whoredom and wine and new wine take away the heart. My people ask counsel at their stocks, and their staff declareth unto them. For the spirit of whoredoms hath caused them to err, and they have gone whoring from under their Elohim. They sacrifice upon the tops of the mountains and burnt incense upon the hills, under oaks and poplars and elms, because the shadow thereof is good, and therefore your daughters shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery, for themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore the people that doeth not understand shall fall.
Okay. Now we see this word increase here in verse 10 was the same one that we went over, paratz, meaning to break forth and to multiply, Now, what he's saying is, even though they're sleeping around everywhere, they won't be fruitful as far as, baby wise. It says because they have left off to take heed to Yahuwah, because they've left his way. And this is irony. This is very it's very ironic. This is irony Yah has put in his word, for that El that they would serve. Verses 13 and 14 speaks to a specific deity that they used to worship back then. We went over not too long ago the worship of Ishtar, and she was the mother of harlots. You remember that? And this is what it's alluding to when the verse speaks of your daughter shall commit whoredom and your spouses shall commit adultery. And I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, or your spouses when they commit adultery. He's, and we know that his word says in Revelation 3:19, as many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. So he's saying he's not even gonna chasten them. He's not even gonna rebuke them. Now, this deity that they were worshiping was Ishtar. And here it is saying, they're asking counsel at their stocks and their staff. Speaking of, trees and staff, like the staff they walk, they used to use that for divination, to do divination. And they used to make carvings of figures out of wood. Such as, something such as these, they used to call them the groves. And they used to do the practices of Ishtar. We went over that, and how that religion went, and it was very pagan. It was a very pagan religion, and which they all are, but they used to worship, stuff like this was in the groves. It's like an obelisk, that was carved from a tree. Of course, we had them all over the country, erected, even in Washington, D.C., District of Criminals. Columbia. I'm sorry. Here's another one. Now, this is a very famous spot, actually. This is called the Bohemian Grove, and it's over in San Francisco. The Bohemian Grove is infamous. But those who know of the Bohemian Grove, and those who are in the know of Bohemian Grove. We just don't know because we're not in the know. My pointer's not working right now, but this here, you can't really see it, but the guy that's all the way up front on the platform, he has a staff in his hand, and they used to use those staffs to do divination. I forgot to charge up my laser pointer, but this is Bohemian Grove. You see it in the background up there. And this is the cremation of care ritual. And these are some of the known participants that they know. Now, I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's at least 5 of the past presidents up there. You know, there's Nixon. Probably wasn't surprised to see him. You know, I am not a crook. Yeah, right. Ronald Reagan, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., and Bill Clinton. You know, and many others. I don't know any of the other guys. I think I recognize Henry Kissinger, but all of those are, you know, big wigs in today's society. But they go to places like this. They're part of this exclusive club. You know, so is Ishtar worship alive and prevalent today, or is this just some old mumbo jumbo? This is just some old pagan rituals from way back in the day. The last 5 presidents of the United States were seen here. Known participants. Some of the most powerful men in the world are members. Some of the most widely known entertainers. You know, and that huge structure there, that's actually an owl. You know, I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's actually an owl. You know, and that was one of the main symbols. That was one of Ishtar's main symbols, were the owl. You know, Hosea 4:15 says, "Though thou Israel play the harlot, and let not Yahudah offend, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye to Beth-Haven, nor swear Yahuwah liveth." Y'all didn't want Yahudah to go to these places, for they were places of idolatry that Jeroboam had set up. You know, remember, Jeroboam was the first king of Israel, and he was afraid that the people were going to go back to Jerusalem and worship Elohim and align themselves back with the king of Yahudah, which was Rehoboam. Even though Yah had told him that he was giving them the kingdom, I guess he didn't trust him. You know, even after the prophecy came true, he wanted to ensure that he kept it. You know, so he set up this